says it wants to.
Welcome back to Kiss and Tell. Psych, wrong show. Same cast.
Right. I'm your host, Ken, and I'm joined by Bill, and no one else, because it's the week before Age of Ultron. No one could be bothered to go see movies prior to that, I guess. Or they're just being lazy. You know, we'll hound them.
I saw movies, but I didn't go to the theater. I watched them all from the comfort of my own home.
Always a good thing.
Yeah.
Good thing. But got no beers to talk about. I'm drinking the same from last week. Still working on that pack of hard ginger beer, which, by the way, this is the last one of the 6-pack it was a 4-pack I bought, and really fucking good. Highly recommended. So, the first movie we're going to talk about this week is the theatrical film that I saw. I went out and saw Ex Machina, which sort of seems poised to be the underground sleeper of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Because, obviously it's going to be it's going to be overshadowed by Age of Ultron, and it was really no one really gives a shit about the other major releases that have come out in the last few weeks, but this has generated some genuine buzz from critics, and honestly, I have to say, for some good reason.
And they made kind of a splash with their whole publicity stunt thing they did, their Tinder stunt,
right? Yeah,
which I had heard about, but I didn't know was this movie specifically until like a few days ago.
Right, where they kind of baited people into following someone on Tinder, and then, which I admit that was kind of a low stunt, but I don't blame that on the filmmakers. That's just the marketing execs. I
think it worked. I mean, even if it pissed people off, to me, like, they should have done it on April Fool's Day.
That would have been a good idea.
Yeah, like, because it really reminds me of the South Park bait and switch, where the season 1 finale of South Park is about who Cartman's dad is, and that was the end of the season, so there was a long break, and then when they come back, it was just an episode of Terrence and Phillip just to fuck with people.
And I remember them saying that they actually at first weren't even intending to ever answer that question, even in the least. That they were just like that from that point on, it was just going to be regular episodes, but they got so much hate over it that they came up with the last minute explanation, which still doesn't answer shit.
Oh no! In fact, it raises more questions and continuity errors.
Oh yeah. So many, and that's I think the genius of it. To be honest, Terrence and Phillip's episode is I always enjoy it.
It is some of the most immature laughs you'll ever get, but god damn if that shit doesn't fucking crack me up every time I watch it. There's a line in there about Ugly Bob, and he's like, "Ugly Bob, your face looks like somebody tried to put out a forest fire with a screwdriver."
This doesn't even make sense. Yeah, it's bad taste, but it's bad taste in the best possible light, because it was all meant to be just a big audience, just fuck you. Which I appreciate when an artist is willing to go all the way for their audience, so long as they don't, okay, there's going all the way, and then there's G.G. Allen going all the way. Let's say they don't cross that line. They go as close to that line as you can go without going full G.G. Allen.
Right.
And if you don't know,
I would argue they've done it though. Really, like
they've done the GG.
Well, no. They've gone about as far as you can go without crossing that line. I mean, especially in the past like 5-6 years. There's a whole episode where, all right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They've done it. Yeah, there are examples. I was going to cite a specific example, but I got distracted.
Okay. Yeah, well, with that said, Ex Machina. So, Bill, what have you heard about this movie? Have you read any reviews, seen anything?
Yeah, I've heard the double toasted review. You wrote the review for the website, right?
I actually did not write the review for the website.
Okay, I haven't read the Movie Boozer review for the site yet.
Yeah, I did see it, but no, we did have someone else write it. I actually forgot who it was that wrote it, but
I'll pull that up. Maybe
but the movie it's interesting. It's a science fiction film, and it's a very small movie. In fact, the total cast of the movie you can count on one hand, which is really kind of fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare that you see a movie get a major release that's really so basic and simple and yet deceptive in that. It stars Domhnall Gleeson. I can never pronounce that first name right.
Dom? Is it?
It's Domhnall. So Domhnall.
Oh, okay. I've heard people just pronounce it Dom Hall, like DOM space HALL. That's what I assumed his name was this whole time.
Yeah, well, either way, he's Brendan Gleeson's son. That's the way to put it. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a pronunciation on Facebook, so let's see.
By the way, that Movie Boozer review was written by Matt Conway. And I'll just go ahead and read his drinking game off real quick. Take a drink whenever Nathan takes one. Take a drink when the tension ratchets up. Take a drink for the great dancing sequence. Do a shot for each clever plot twist. Do a shot during each darkly comedic moment. And he rated this a toast.
All right. I don't know if I'd go as far as to call it a toast, but I definitely enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I actually just looked into how to pronounce it.
Domhnall.
It says here, frequently asked questions, how to pronounce. Just Domhnall, I guess. I guess you don't pronounce the M. Domhnall.
Okay.
All right. So Domhnall Gleeson. Yeah, I had a joke there, but I lost it. So the movie stars Domhnall Gleeson as a talented computer genius who works for a major company called Blue Book, which I guess is a search engine company within the world of this film. Mm-hmm. And he wins a company lottery, which the movie opens with this brief sequence of him on his computer saying, "You've won," and him telling everyone, and this kind of celebratory thing, to visit and meet the CEO of the company. And the CEO, whose name is Nathan Bateman, is played by Oscar Isaac. And what the sense they give you at the beginning is that he is a highly reclusive individual who probably hasn't set foot in the company built, the corporate headquarters for years. He's just, operating out of his this facility far into the mountains, very close to a huge ass glacier, and just. There's this reference made in the movie where they're in a helicopter. Domhnall Gleeson asks the helicopter pilot, have we made it to his estate yet? And the pilot says, you've been flying over his estate for the last 2 hours. So that's supposed to give you an idea of how truly secluded this guy.
Is that just an expositive line?
Yeah, well, it's just to explain to you that they're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
This motherfucker owns land and he has money.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, you almost in that opening sequence, because there's some beautiful landscapes and mountains and glaciers, and you almost think in your mind the Jurassic Park. Da, 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 da. But you're not going to see any dinosaurs in this estate. It's this really cool hipsterish building, which has an upper tier that is all above ground, and then there's an underground facility. And the underground facility is a lab which he has constructed for testing artificial intelligence. And most specifically, he has built an artificial woman, which anyone who's seen Weird Science knows that doesn't always go well.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure. Actually, no. Put a caveat on that, because in anime, it usually goes well.
yeah, but with anime, it goes too well to the point of to the point of pornographic standard. So
yeah.
So what he does, he sits down with Donald Gleason and tells him, "I have something to tell you, but before I tell you it, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement." And he basically bullies him into signing the agreement. He gives him the sort of the asshole-ish thing. It's like, yeah, okay, well, you don't have to sign it. We can just hang out for a week and chat, get drunk, whatever. And, indicating that if he doesn't sign it, then he's going to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. Upon signing it, he finds out that he is going to be the head human subject in a series of Turing tests in order to identify whether this android that is named Ava, which he has created, has traits which make it sentient, make it, you could say, could be confused for a human.
Mm-hmm.
And if the test is passed, obviously that's a huge step forward in technology. As the movie goes on, the tests begin with Donald Gleason's character asking questions, and the questions turn into conversation. And over time, you start to, of course, get the sense that there's something dark looming. You don't know quite what it is, but there's something is wrong, and you're not quite sure whether it's something wrong with the android or something wrong with with Oscar Isaac, the inventor,
mm-hmm.
Or both. And I don't want to give away too much because there's some nice little plot twists that are quite satisfying, I thought. But needless to say, it's quite an impressive movie. I really appreciated it. It's simple, but it kept me interested throughout with, I would say, sharp dialogue that kind of, it runs close to stylize and sort of musing on artificial intelligence. And
mm-hmm.
of course, there are endless movies about robots taking over the world once they become intelligent. And the world of Ex Machina is not to put too fine a point on it, but it's certainly that same kind of world where you wonder, are we going to wake up in the morning and find the robot overlords have plugged us into machines and are using our bodies as batteries to run their whatever, their matrixy things.
That was convoluted.
Yeah. Point being, it's really fascinating. The special effect in the movie is really fascinating. How the character of Eva is portrayed, because throughout the film, the majority of the film, Eva is shown without like human clothing on, and so there's machinery visible. She has like a plastic shell over her chest cavity and around her neck, and so you can see into some of the machinery. And I'm actually genuinely curious how they accomplished a lot of the effects, because you cannot really tell what is computer generated or what is practical. Because certainly there is some computer effects, but it's hard to tell what is what because they blend together so seamlessly. I think the director Alex Garland certainly makes an impact with this. I don't know. I think this is his directorial debut. I think he's only been a screenwriter before, although his screenplays It's worth noting he wrote the screenplay for 28 Days Later, Sunshine. 28 Weeks Later, he was not a screenwriter; he was just a producer. And he also co-wrote the screenplay for Dread.
Okay, that's probably where I know his name from, because as soon as somebody, I think it was the Double Toasted review, said Alex Garland, and I was like, that name sounds really familiar.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where I know his name from.
Yeah, I would say that's and this is not. Don't go into this expecting a big action movie. There's very little action. This is more of a mind bending film. Wikipedia uses the term thriller. I disagree. It's more of just a brain.
Well, actually, let's talk about that, because I've heard a lot of different genres associated with this film. Some people have said it's a drama. Some people have said it's a horror. Some people say it's straight sci-fi, which, I mean, I know whatever it is, it's got sci-fi elements throughout. And I've heard some people even say there's comedic elements to it.
It has a lot of that, and it's hard to pin down a specific genre to it. To call it horror, though, I think is...
I think it was more the marketing. I think that's more the marketing, because if this was sort of marketed more as a horror film. That's what's going to sell it, give it marquee value. Ooh, it's going to be so scary. No, it's definitely got some horrifying elements to it, and some of the reveals are just truly fucked up. Mm-hmm.
Once again, I don't want to ruin it, so I'm not going to go into the specifics, but it really it has some moments that are going to leave you just aghast, but it's not a movie that is going to haunt you. I mean, this is no Babadook in terms of something where it's like you're not going to have it in your head for days that you just saw something really creepy. Mm-hmm. What will stay in your mind, though, is just the sort of the meaning behind the film, which is, once again, it, like so many others before, it questions the use of artificial intelligence, which I'm actually one of the few people, I think, who is kind of a proponent of artificial intelligence. I think it's very much possible that humanity's goal for reaching immortality might, in fact, be humanity building a better, humanity, building something that is sentient and can, in fact, keep itself alive indefinitely. I think that's a possible next stage in our evolution as a species, because we're a flawed race, humanity. If you have any doubt to that, what's happening in Baltimore right now? A series of fuck ups on all sides.
Have you seen the video of the guy's mom pulling him away from the riots by his ear? That was pretty entertaining.
As she has every right to do. A mother, regardless of what the kid was doing, because obviously they don't give you a lot of context in that video. Mama has her say, and as long as you're living in Mama's house, Mama has the rules.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's a good video. But the fact is, and I'm not even going to take sides here, because on one hand, riotous assembly is always a worrisome thing, because that leads to a lot of injustices. But so does killing someone in police custody through your own negligence, and that's what it sounds like right now, based on the facts that we do know. So, like I said, I'm not gonna go too far into that politically. What I will say is that there have been fuck ups on both sides, and hopefully it gets resolved as peaceably as possible, and they get, the ones who truly did the damage get punished for it, and move on. So back to Ex Machina. Do you have any questions, Bill? Anything that piqued your interest about it?
How's Oscar Isaac's performance in this? Because really, if I'm going to see this, it's just based on the strength of him right now, because he has pretty much been on a roll for a while.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac, I mean, he's been acting for a long time, but it's just one of those things where The movies that
he's starting to get lead roles now. Before he was only like minor characters and stuff, but
right.
Llewyn Davis
really that was kind of his coming out party as an actor, and it was a great role. I love Llewyn Davis.
Yeah, I agree.
I think people, A Most Violent Year, they really fucked up the release on that movie. That movie had every right to be an Oscar contender alongside everything else. But they didn't even release it to the public, like with a wide or reasonably wide release until way toward, I think February, the first week of February is when it finally got an expansion. And in that movie, Oscar Isaac performance, and I said this when I saw it, it reminds me of a young Al Pacino in every way, shape, and form. It's a real deep performance, and you can feel the emotion of it, and it's subtle. And that's what he does in this film. This is a little bit bigger of a performance than A Most Violent Year in that there's a theatricality to it, but that's because he's playing a more theatrical character. His character is an eccentric billionaire, so he is a Steve Jobs kind of figure. But in his case, the character he plays is... Let me describe his character. He's first of all a hopeless alcoholic, or so you're led to see in the film. He's in almost every scene in the movie. He's got booze in his hand, and he's just he's all. But here's the thing: as obsessed as he is with drinking, once he wakes up and recovers from a hangover, he's exercising like crazy. And he even says that, like, he, for every night that he has a hangover, he has to punish himself for it. And so he goes on these long hikes and does martial arts training and stuff like that. So he's a very physical person. Mentally, he's a pompous asshole. You can tell that he sees himself as 5 steps ahead of everyone. And he's immediately, from the moment he lays eyes on Donald Gleason, even though Gleason is clearly an accomplished computer programmer, and he even mentions Gleason's probably the best programmer that works for him. He speaks to him in nothing but condescension. I'm on another plane as you. And that's something that is really, it gets your gourd. It's really but it never gets like obnoxious, because you understand that's his character. And so through that, and the more you learn about this character, you learn what he may be capable of, and you have to extrapolate that on what ends up happening. And it's the same thing with Donald Gleason. What could someone like that be capable of? And in a way, in satirizing, in using robots as a means to artificial intelligence, they're pointing out that artificial intelligence is one thing, but human intelligence there is not without its flaws. Because as much of a super genius as Oscar Isaac is, he's not all there. And his performance is totally worth watching. Donald Gleason's performance is very good too. I mean, his character is really the open canvas. He's there for the audience to absorb details and through which exposition occurs. That's the thing, though. Movies, sci-fi in particular, lends itself to that. And usually, a good sci-fi movie will have the open canvas main character who he doesn't have a whole lot of extra motivations. He's there to serve as a surrogate for the audience. Luke Skywalker is a perfect example of that. This is no Star Wars, of course, in the way it's a whole different movie. But with that said, Alicia Vikander, I believe that's how it's pronounced, plays Ava, the AI.
Mm-hmm.
And her performance is chilling, nothing short of chilling, because you cannot get a beat on it. At some points, you feel empathetic. At some points, you feel truly, worried about what this thing, whether you call it a she or a not, she or not is a question. What it is planning, if it is planning anything, you don't know, because she manages to convey emotion through lack of emotion, which is kind of hard to, like I said, it's hard to pin down. Great little performance. I think she will probably win some sci-fi award somewhere. Certainly not going to get any Oscar buzz, because movies like this are typically ignored. But it was very much worth it, and that's. Oh, you know what? I do have one more thing to mention. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. It's kind of a mixture of electronics that it was composed by, Ben Salisbury and Jeff Barrow. They worked on the Dread score, so if you liked that kind of futuristic sci-fi, it's a very similar sounding score in that respect. So, are there any other questions or comments you have at that, or shall we move on?
I think we've covered Ex Machina.
All right. So, you, Bill, have been talking quite a bit about Super Troopers 2.
Well, actually, yeah, more or less just the whole campaign that they've been doing about Super Troopers 2. For those who don't know, the comedy troupe Broken Lizard, who made the film Super Troopers, just a few days ago finished doing an Indiegogo campaign for Super Troopers 2, and they've raised over $4 million for it. And that's I think they've broken a record. Like, they've broken the Indiegogo record. They're like the highest project on there so far. So
I'm pretty sure they broke that record within a few days of their campaign.
That sounds about right. And I don't remember why they've been promoting this and doing various long live stream kind of go donate and just hanging out sort of stuff. Did you ever watch the TV channel G4 before it got shut down, back when that was a thing?
Only on occasion. Attack of the Show, stuff like that.
Attack of the Show. Okay. Do you remember Kevin Pereira from Attack of the Show?
Yes.
Okay. He was the male host for most of its run. I'm not that familiar.
About as far.
Well, he did a thing with Super Troopers where they came on, I guess. Now that G4 is dead and Attack of the Show is dead, he does a thing on Twitch called The Attack. And the Broken Lizard guys came on there. They were hanging out. They were playing the new Mortal Kombat game. And the most interesting of which is that they were just telling stories. And guests would come on. Sam Levine came on. Nat Faxon came on. Cast members from the show Blue Mountain State, which I don't watch. But, people, they had people on as guests for this. And they told some very funny, very interesting stories, specifically Steve Lemmy and Jay I've never been able to pronounce his last name. Chandrasekhar. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's about as close as it sounds like you're going to get.
Yeah, they were telling some very entertaining stories about different stuff. And I'll probably reference that video some more as I start talking about their movies, because of this, for some reason, I just got super nostalgic, and I was like, yeah, Super Troopers is a real funny movie, and Beer Fest is a real funny movie. I think I'm going to go back and rewatch those. And then that kind of spiraled into me watching all of their movies. So I've watched all the Broken Lizard movies, and I'm here to tell you about them. And actually, I'm going to go out of order. I'm going to start with Super Troopers.
Okay.
And did you see that one when it came out?
I saw it in theaters, yeah.
Okay. And what was your impressions of it at the time?
I loved it when I first saw it. I really enjoyed it. I thought that opening. Here's the thing, though. The movie, in retrospect, I'll give a review, but let me give you my initial impression.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it from beginning to end the first time I saw it. I thought it was laugh out loud. The opening sequence is truly something special.
Yeah.
And it continues that momentum for a great extent. There are a few jokes that didn't fly, but that's typical with comedies. Nowadays, upon revisit, I will say the movie buries its lead with that opening sequence because it's so good. The rest of the film is I will still watch, but it's the kind of thing that I will multitask. I'll do other things in the background while I'm doing it.
Well, that's interesting because that's why I asked that question, because when Super Troopers came out, people flipped their shit. They were like, this is the next big thing. These guys are going to be the next big comedy troupe. And just people, it was just unanimous praise. And I think that's kind of where their downfall came from.
Yeah, I think definitely there was so high expectations for their next film. It couldn't help but fall down.
And yeah, having just rewatched Super Troopers, I can say, like, yes, that opening scene is fantastic, but there's just so much dumb, funny stuff in there that, like, it is forever a classic.
It holds up. It's probably one of the best comedies of the 2000s.
And it's got this sort of cinematic element, actually. The attack, it's a 7-hour live stream with Kevin Pereira. The video I was just referring to, they talk about how there's a lot of Smokey and the Bandit type of influence on Super Troopers and how they were watching a lot of that kind of stuff at the time. Yeah. And having rewatched the movie, like, yeah, they were totally trying to sort of get that feel down for the film.
And it was an independent film, and Fox Searchlight picked it up, and it has that independent feel to it where you can tell they weren't taking any studio notes. This is a film that they really went all out for. Some of the things that I appreciate most about it is, first of all, Brian Cox in a rare.
Oh yeah. Well, Brian Cox and the other actor who plays the head of the local police. I can't remember the actor's name. He might have passed away recently, but I think you and I probably both know him best from Seinfeld, right?
I'm trying to figure out his name while you're looking that up.
Let me see here. I will tell you his name. He played George's boss on Seinfeld for a while. Daniel Von Bargen.
What?
And yeah, he just passed away March 1st of 2015.
What's that?
He just passed away on March 1st.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We must have had a connection drop out because I didn't hear anything you said.
Okay, it says his best-known roles are Mr. Kruger on Seinfeld. He was Francis's superior officer at military school on Malcolm in the Middle. Totally spaced on that one. And, of course, Chief Grady in Super Troopers.
Yes, Daniel Von Bargen. That's the name.
I love the back and forth with him and Brian Cox in that movie. You somehow, without getting too expositive and saying, like, yeah, these guys have a lot of history and backstory, like, they don't ever need to explain it. You can just tell by their interactions with each other that they have a lot of history together as characters, and like that
you can say for any Happy Madison movie. There's actual backstory to this.
Yeah, and I guess that's actually not a bad point to segue, because this is the reason I wanted to talk about Super Troopers first, is because, like, that's really what put them on the map. That's what brought them to everyone's attention. And there were some people at the time who were like, oh, what else do these guys have? And they may or may not have found out that they made a movie prior to Super Troopers called Puddle Cruiser,
which was their student film. They made it while they were in college, I believe.
Ooh, and you can tell, and I'll get to that. But yeah, I watched this movie a few years ago.
Mhm.
I can't like a long time ago, like 5-6 years ago. I did not remember a thing about it other than it took place at college. Like, if it was a student film, it's a little bit better than a student film to a certain extent, but oh my god, like I was legitimately starting to get super frustrated through the first like half of this movie. I think what happens with Puddle Cruiser is that it goes down and down and down and then eventually kind of just hits rock bottom and it can't go down anymore. And maybe I'm just too desperate for a laugh at that point, but like the second half, there's nowhere to go but up.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I'm like, okay, I could kind of enjoy this. Going back to them on the attack, the video that I keep referring to, where they're just bullshitting and telling stories. They talk about how they were really influenced by like Kevin Smith and Richard Linklater, and you can get that from Puddle Cruiser, but it's just like in the worst possible ways that you could be influenced by those people.
Yeah, I haven't seen Puddle Cruiser for a long time. I saw it actually not too long after.
You have seen it, but okay, but do you remember anything about it at all?
Not much. It really didn't make a huge impact on me other than for its amateurish aspects. But here's the thing. I give them a pass on that because they did make it while they were in college. It very much feels like a student film. And
right.
Here's the thing. Quentin Tarantino has a movie that you're never going to see called My Best Friend's Birthday that he made prior to Reservoir Dogs, and he shot completely independently. Every film... Oh, you saw it?
It's seeable.
Seeable?
Yes.
Okay, you need to explain this. How did you see it? Because my understanding was there wasn't even a copy floating out there.
Yeah, so there's this place downtown I go sometimes. It's the Bootleg Theater, and they occasionally have these things that are fairly exclusive to the internet, and that happened to be one of them.
Okay. Well, yeah. I know we're talking about Broken Lizard, but really quick, give us a quick capsule review of My Best Friend.
Gosh, I probably watched it like 2 or 3 years ago. Tarantino's in it. He's probably the funniest part. You can tell the guy has got a copious pop culture knowledge, but at that point, there's a reason why it's not available on DVD anywhere. It's fairly embarrassing. I mean, it's not really embarrassing, but it isn't polished whatsoever.
Right.
It's like a guy fucking around with his camera and his buddies.
Right.
Whatever.
Which literally, that's what it was. So.
Yeah.
A few things I know about.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A few things I know about that movie. First of all, I know he didn't have money to see sides, so he literally would shoot stuff, and he didn't develop it until he was done shooting, as far as he knew. So he had no idea what he was making, really. 2, it was an amateur production, very much, just him using his money on weekends. I think it was shot over like a year and a half or 2 years. So yeah,
you get some of the playfulness with the dialogue. That's about as far as I can say that it's recognizable as a Tarantino.
But what Tarantino has said about that film is, even though it's he doesn't want it to see the light of day, he considers it his film school.
And that's the thing, actually, tying this all back together. Like, I can see that out of Puddle Cruiser. I just think, like, if you put a gun to my head and you were like, Cannibal the Musical, Puddle Cruiser, or Gorilla Interrupted, I'm not picking fucking Puddle Cruiser.
To be fair, Gorilla Interrupted wasn't even their first movie, so...
Well, technically no, but it's you got the collaboration of a group kind of thing going on too. So
here's also Puddle Cruiser probably would never have seen the light of day were it not for the huge, massive success of the cult indie following.
Well, see,
that developed.
From Super Troopers, but I'm gonna sit and again I heard them tell a story about how they were promoting Puddle Cruiser at a film festival where Tarantino was, and he came to see Puddle Cruiser. I think one of them had like pestered him into seeing it, possibly, and they said he laughed his ass off, and they weren't sure if he was like under the influence of something or if he was just being polite.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just rewatched it, and there ain't nothing to laugh about, at least in the first half of that movie. I'm trying to be nice about it. Like, I get it. I don't think they care for it that much. That's another thing from them talking about it. It doesn't really seem like they're that fond of it, and I don't blame them. Like, if it led to Super Troopers, that's great. I'm glad. It was a necessary stepping stone. But for me now in 2015 to watch it, it was like, oh my god, like. It's so fucking late 90s in, like, the most bland way. I actually wrote down a few of the lines I'm going to recite.
Okay.
This is a line of exclamation. Steve Lemmy goes, "Lush!" I'm like, nobody says lush. And then, okay, so, like, the plot of the movie is Steve Lemmy is fucking this girl who has a boyfriend, but she's in an open relationship, but he's falling in love with her, so he's like, oh, he wants to be with this girl officially, and blah, 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 blah. And the girl has a line. It is like the most late 90s college girl fucking line, where she's like, don't be so conservative. And I'm like, why do you want to be with this girl? She's a fucking moron.
Oh, wow. It
is such late 90s trash that, like, it was unbearable to sit through for most of it. Like, the Broken Lizard guys, yeah, they're funny every now and then, but it's the worst of their movies.
Which I think is a good time to segue into the second worst of their movies that I've seen at least.
Club Dread?
Club Dread.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't bothered watching that one.
Yeah, I just rewatched this today, and first of all, Bill Paxton is great in this movie.
That I will give you. Bill Paxton is the... If you are a Bill Paxton completist, by all means, this movie must be watched.
First of all, like...
oozes entertainment in every moment he's in the movie.
He's fantastic in this movie, and at first you think, like, he's a parody of Jimmy Buffett, so you're thinking, like, there's no way Jimmy Buffett exists in this universe. But then later on in the movie, they're sitting around the campfire playing songs, and this drunk girl goes, "Play Margaritaville," and he goes, "I think you're thinking of my song Pina Coladaberg." And, like, he just gets straight up envious of Jimmy Buffett, and it's amazing.
Well, I actually remember when I saw the movie, I literally tried to find if they had recorded full versions of the songs. Because there's Pina Coladaberg, there's Sea Shanties and Wet Panties.
That's the album title, I think. But yeah, like, they're all great. They're all ridiculous titles. That would.
Yeah, his character is awesome. And there are a few very decent laughs. Mm-hmm. In what is otherwise the most bargain basement parody of a slasher film. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing, it tries to do the thing like Scream, where it's sort of got some serious moments mixed in with the humor. But it's clear that like some of it, you almost get the feeling like the studio notes were telling them to make the movie scarier than it should have been.
Well, that's another thing they talked about on the live stream, was that while promoting Super Troopers, they developed a reputation amongst Fox Searchlight as their nickname was Drunken Lizard.
Oh yeah.
And so when it came time to make Club Dread, they had the studio was on their asses, and apparently they sent like a Bond guy down there to make sure, because apparently they got a day behind schedule and the studio flipped their shit about it. Mm. And it doesn't, they don't really talk about it like it was the most comfortable shoot they've ever done, but they did seem to have fun making it, and I think that does come through.
I have heard Steve Lemmy talk about it on the podcast that he has, Chewing It with Kevin and Steve.
Yes.
And he actually indicated that it was probably the most fun shoot they ever had off set.
Right. Yeah, but while filming.
It was them in Mexico with Bill Paxton, mm-hmm. and like every night was a party. And I get the feeling that that's probably way more entertaining than the movie ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they did indicate that there was some studio hedging involved too.
Which,
but I'm not going to fully sell that on Fox because still, given Jay Chandrasekhar's subsequent directorial films, he's hit and miss, and mostly miss when it comes to filmmaking.
On film, on television, he's done episodes of Arrested Development and Community, and done, I would say, a bang-up job on both. So, like, I would say he's not a bad director. Dukes of Hazzard, I don't know what the fuck, that was
I Need Money.
I guess, yeah. However, have you guys seen Dukes of Hazzard?
Yeah.
There's a Super Troopers reference in there, and it's the funniest part of the movie.
Which is like the least thing you would want from a movie that's supposed to be about the Dukes of Hazzard.
Well, I guess so.
But that it was that period in the early 2000s that I particularly find distasteful, which was let's bring up a franchise from like the 80s or 70s, and let's do the comedy version of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I first saw Club Dread, it was underwhelming, is the best description of how I felt about it back in 2004 when it came out.
Yeah, I actually saw it in theaters in the week that it played.
I didn't. I wasn't old enough to go see it in theaters, but I rented it when it came out on DVD. And I laughed. I remember specifically laughing at two jokes. The first is where they're telling the ghost story about the guy that cuts his own dick off, and he's Paul Soder is like, "Where's my penis? Where's my penis?" Which is like the only reason I really think that's funny is because like using the word penis instead of like that was probably the best word they could have used as far as variations.
Right, it's almost anti-humor because it's so lame that it almost becomes funny as a result.
Yeah.
The set piece that I found most amusing in the film, outside of Bill Paxton stuff, was the live-action Pac-Man serial killer slaying.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of cool.
That's the thing. I never understood that reference until today when I rewatched it, which made me realize. Like, I haven't seen Club Dread uncut since 2004. I've seen it on television edited and shit like that. So it's really been a while since I've seen that one.
Yeah. It looks like Zach dropped off on us, so he must be having some technical difficulties.
Maybe he'll be back.
I guess that Madison, Wisconsin internet's not as good as advertised.
The next movie they made, I just looked this up. We still don't have a Movie Boozer review for Beer Fest.
Feel free.
Maybe. We'll see. I might tackle it. And I like Beer Fest, actually. Beer Fest is a movie, when I first saw it, I was just sort of like, okay. I think I just rented it on the strength of it was Broken Lizard.
My brother and I saw it in the theaters, and we enjoyed it. It actually came out at just the right time. My brother was in college. I think he was almost 2000. Oh yeah, it was his junior year in college, and it was my sophomore year. And I actually at that point hadn't even started drinking yet, but. It was one of those things where I was getting to that point where, I legitimately waited till I turned 21, but I enjoyed imbibing. And he, of course, I honestly don't know when it started, but yeah, it came out at just the right time because, beer drinking games and stuff started to be kind of a thing. I thought that there were some, wait, what?
What's wrong? What?
I'm just reading something interesting. I brought up Beer Fest on Wikipedia, and before we get into it, let me just read this and tell me what you think of this. In August 2014, during a Reddit AMA, when asked about where the concept for the movie came from, Jay Chandrasekhar said, "We were at a beer garden in Australia wearing our police uniforms and went on stage and challenged the top 5 drinkers in the room to a chug-off. The place exploded. We were winning. But when Paul Soder started drinking and we lost, But then Paul Soter started drinking, and we quickly lost. And then we had arm wrestling contests, and Steve Lemmy insulted national treasure Russell Crowe, and we had to be escorted out by security.
That, like I said, that probably was on the Super Troopers promotional tour, and was part of their gaining a reputation amongst Fox Searchlight executives.
Right. Which, if you've ever seen Steve Lemmy and Kevin Heffernan's comedy special on Netflix, they do drinking games during their comedy special. So yeah, that's a rep that they've continued.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I enjoy Beer Fest. It's not without flaws, but even rewatching it, it is the perfect movie to watch when you come home from a night of, from a party late at night or something. You're just, you're on the edge of tired, and maybe you're eating dinner late, and you just put the TV on and you chuckle. You know what I mean?
I think it's a better. It's such a loose movie, and they are so charming in it that I think it bolsters it up a few notches for me.
Some of the highlights of the movie, and that's the thing. The one thing I really credit for Broken Lizard is they put some really deep cut references in their movies that you have to be more of a movie geek to appreciate than your typical ridiculous comedy audience might expect. I mean, first of all, Jürgen Prochnow is the main villain in the movie, and his first of all, the name of the beer glasses that are in the shape of boots are called Das Boot, which was the movie that Jürgen Prochnow was the star of. Not only that, but there's a scene in the movie where Jürgen Prochnow and his Beer Fest team are in a submarine.
So actually, this kind of ties together in a weird way. Before we went on the air, we were talking about Quentin Tarantino,
mm-hmm.
and on the air, we were just talking about his prior films and all that. Sam Levine came on to hang out with them and promote the campaign for Super Troopers 2 and all that. And Sam Levine was in Inglourious Bastards.
Right.
And he said while they were filming Inglourious Bastards in, I think, Berlin, Quentin Tarantino would have movie night every Thursday. And one of the movie nights was Beer Fest. And he said that Quentin Tarantino was just laughing at every single joke, just, fucking, enthralled with the whole movie. To the point where he said there's a Beer Fest reference in Inglourious Bastards.
That's intriguing.
Dude's drinking out of a boot in that movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether that was intentional or not on his part, but it could have been.
Apparently, Quentin loves Beer Fest.
You know what? That's fine. It's a movie that I will not fault anyone for absolutely adoring.
I think, well, here's the thing. That joke with the twin brother, to me, that seals the whole deal. At that point, what the movie is. It doesn't give a fuck. It's a silly, stupid fucking movie with a silly, stupid premise.
Yeah, that's and you know what? It's not even a spoiler to get into. At one point, a major character in the movie dies, and then literally they have the funeral scene. In the next scene, they introduce the same actor playing the twin brother who decides within 5 minutes, and you can also call me by the nickname. So
there's so many great lines in there. He's like, I feel like I already know you guys, so there won't be that awkward getting to know you stage.
Right, and that's probably one of the more brilliant comedic set pieces in the film, because how ingenious and just genre bending is it, honestly, to just say, we're gonna have this sad moment, and fuck it, we're just bringing him back, we're resurrecting him, who gives a shit.
It's great. Yeah, I don't know, if that's not your thing in comedy, I get it. You I don't know what kind of comedy you would like opposed to that per se. I don't know if I'd be into it per se, but to me, that just with the tone that they cultivated prior to that moment, like it all came together really for me, and it was like, all right, this is a funny fucking movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoy it. I won't have any bones about that. I think it's more than worth watching. Now, as far as their other projects they've done since Beer Fest, I have to be perfectly honest, I haven't seen any of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, I did watch the Slammin' Salmon, which I haven't seen before, but I know you haven't seen it, so let's talk about that. The Slammin' Salmon is weird. I thought I had seen it before, but I hadn't. Maybe I saw it on TV or like a scene or two from it, but I hadn't. I really thought that I knew what this movie was, but I didn't. The premise of this movie is Michael Clark Duncan plays a boxer, like basically George Foreman, but instead of getting into making grills, he gets into owning a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
The boxer that, and also, first of all, really quickly, the same way that Bill Paxton is great in Club Dread, I would say Michael Clark Duncan is in the Slammin' Salmon. Michael Clark Duncan is having the time of his life in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Which is sad because that was one of his last films, wasn't it?
I think that's true. But hey, he had a blast. I could tell. Like he is a shining star in this film. Mm-hmm. And not to say that the film is bad. It's okay. It's very serviceable. It's better than Puddle Cruiser, which, right, like I said, all of their stuff is better than Puddle Cruiser. But the thing that I really couldn't get around with the Slammin' Salmon is two things. One, this feels like a pilot to a TV show that would improve over time. Mm-hmm. But it's just a movie, and once it ends, it doesn't keep going, and there's no room to improve. As a pilot, again, it's serviceable. But problem number two comes in. When did this come out? 2010?
2009 is when it was made, so I'm guessing it probably was released in 2010.
They've got different premises, but I feel like Party Down does almost everything this movie does infinitely better.
Really? So similar...
The difference being that Party Down is about caterers, and this is about waiters at a restaurant.
But a lot of the same jokes and concepts are...
Not necessarily. I mean, really, it's just the dynamic of the wait staff. And, like, it's very Party Down-like. They nailed that sort of feeling of camaraderie between these guys and that sort of thing. It's just, like, sitting there, I'm just like, Party Down did this shit better. And even in their pilot... So, like I said, this feels like a pilot. Party Down's pilot's better than this. Which is not to, like, I don't want to badmouth this movie because I was never bored watching it. It never dragged. I enjoyed watching this movie. It just felt like a TV show pilot that wasn't quite there yet. Whereas Party Down, you've seen Party Down, all of it, right?
Yep. Even
if you just saw that first episode, you would still be like, all right, that was clever. That was funny. Party Down pretty much nailed their pilot. Whereas this is one of those pilots that is still trying to get their footwork off the ground. Mm-hmm. But it was a movie, so they're never going to get that footwork on the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can see that. I'll have to see the movie. I haven't seen it yet. And I know that there are some other movies that are sort of like side projects to Broken Lizard, mm-hmm, that like Chandrasekhar has directed or that Kevin Heffernan might have looked into. Mm-hmm. But technically Slammin' Salmon was the last Broken Lizard film.
Mm-hmm. And, well, another thing about it, in addition to it's sort of feeling like a mildly weak pilot, you kind of get the sense of, like, these guys just wanted to work together again. And... Mm-hmm. That's fair enough. They all work off of each other really well. They all have great chemistry, and you can tell that they're like pretty much lifelong friends at this point.
Yeah, they earned the right.
And that's the thing, really, with Broken Lizard is it's really their camaraderie that makes a lot of these movies.
Okay. So, we really have only one more major topic to cover, and that topic is a movie that we're going to talk about in much more detail next week, which is Avengers: The Age of Ultron, The Age of Adeline.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because, in fact, I'll relate this to a very specific event in my life, which is when The Dark Knight Rises came out.
Okay.
Prior to The Dark Knight Rises actually coming out, we were flooded with TV spots, teaser trailers, clips, this, that, fucking Dark Knight Rises. Watch all this stuff. Look at it's all out there, posters and this and that. And it became overwhelming, and I stopped caring. I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, get out of my face with this. Like, And then I watched Dark Knight Rises, and I enjoyed it a whole hell of a lot. Probably, I want to say probably more than your average viewer. Mm-hmm. But I have never, ever felt the need to rewatch it.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises I did rewatch once, and unfortunately it's a movie that some of the flaws don't quite survive it on a second.
When I saw it in the theater, I enjoyed it from start to finish. I really am concerned that if I rewatch it, I won't feel the same way.
And that's a good line of thinking. I would not rewatch it.
I don't know. I never watch movies twice in theaters, but I did end up doing that for The Dark Knight Rises. Mm-hmm. Because I got a chance to watch it in IMAX, and I knew, so much it was shot in IMAX. Like, hell yeah, I'll go give that a shot. And while your TV's not going to be an IMAX screen, I guess, it still was pretty doable. I don't know. I thought it held up fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I mean, certainly that's...
The pop culture backlash on it has risen and fallen significantly since then, but...
Well, I think the pop culture backlash missed the point of what doesn't work in the film. And what doesn't work in the film is everything having to do with the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
As soon as you find out, and spoiler alert, as soon as you find out that Bane isn't the mastermind, and instead it's this milquetoast character who you've spent maybe 2 minutes with, and so you have no reason to care about.
Yeah, that was not established well enough. I agree with you there.
I
wouldn't call said character milquetoast.
If her character was in the first Batman Begins or The Dark Knight, I could maybe see that. You have to establish more time with this character, and because as it stands, there was no reason for you to give a shit about her, other than and honestly, that's. I'm sorry, that kills the movie for me in so many ways because it's such an anticlimax when there's all this build up to Bane being this big badass and intelligent person when he turns out to be just kind of the muscle, and that blows. That really blows. And it's like with
he's a muscle. Accomplish a hell of a lot of muscling.
What's that?
I say he's accomplished a hell of a lot of muscling.
Yeah, you're breaking up on us, Zach. So I heard he's muscling and accomplishing what? Oh, and he appears to have fallen off again.
Okay, I had to go take a whiz, so he was totally serviceable in filling up the. Oh.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of breakup here. I don't know what's causing it.
Are we good? Are we good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
All right, so let's talk about Avengers. I'm excited about Avengers, but not for the movie, really. Does that make sense?
What are you excited for the future that it's going to bring?
Yeah, but that's not necessarily it, though. It's more just like I'm excited for another installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just
Right.
based on the strength of their previous projects. With what they're showing me of this, I'm sure there are parts of it that I will love, but really, like, I'm starting to get concerned for various reasons. I didn't even really think about this till the other day. The post-credit scene in Avengers was what the hell's his name? Thanos.
Thanos, yeah. Or shawarma.
Well, yes, but really it was Thanos. And Age of Ultron doesn't look like it's really going to be addressing this Thanos thing, which they keep building towards. Even Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my main complaints was just how often they were like, remember, Thanos is out there. Thanos is coming. Don't forget. He's collecting the gems, and he's going to be a big badass.
Yeah, the biggest weakness that you have is that. And in fact, it really depresses me that Avengers Infinity Wars is going to be a 2-part movie.
I'm not so... Basically, I think, and hear me out on this, with Daredevil, which we can pretty much both agree that we both like.
Quite a bit, yeah.
They're talking about incorporating the Defenders into, only from what I hear, part 2. And that sounds like the smarter route to take. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I feel like, especially now that Joss Whedon has left and the Russo brothers are going to be in charge of that, I'm a little less susceptible. Like, I'm a little less hesitant about that specifically. But Avengers 2 just leaves me thinking of, like, what's the point of this? Is this just filler at this point? Like, yeah. we can't do the Thanos thing just yet. We got to bide a little time. What do we got? Ultron,
there
throw
is
him in
sort
there.
of a disposable quality to these Marvel films that has certainly crept in. Although I will say I recently rewatched Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 3. I rewatched Captain America: The Winter Soldier,
right,
and Guardians of the Galaxy, and honestly, I think all of them were worth rewatching. I really did enjoy them, and I will say, certainly they're not movies that are ever going to win awards. They're just very well made action films with decent dialogue and reasonable banter that is entertaining and pretty cool special effects. There's really what's there. It's just pure entertainment, and that's why when I go to see Avengers this weekend, I'm looking for exactly that. I'm looking to be entertained. I'm looking for some witty banter, and for the one thing I will say. I do like it when they take some small chances, and they sort of did in Avengers in that they killed off a character who was a very beloved character, and then they pull the rug out from that and make an entire TV series based around you like this character, so we're going to give him his own series.
I'm going to say this on that specific subject. I will say this: Coulson has not reappeared in a film yet.
True. Although I have no doubt that he's going to appear in this Avengers movie. That's my.
What are they? Are they going to? Are they going to assume everyone knows that he was resurrected?
I'm sure there's going to be some joke made about it, like I mentioned, witty banter. There's going to be a thing where Coulson's going to appear out of nowhere, and then there's going to be a smash cut to Robert Downey Jr. going, "Wait a second, didn't you die?" Or something like that.
And then it'll never be addressed again.
Right, because they'll throw it away.
You've kind of pointed out precisely why Marvel isn't rising above the pure entertainment field. It gets the 90%, like on Rotten Tomatoes and all that, but that's not really due to anything more than general likability. Mm-hmm. And the main reason for that is that they can't write a compelling villain, and they cannot and will not establish stakes.
Yeah.
I feel like both of those things could be in the future.
That is true. And that is actually going to be their real Crucible. They've essentially pumped out what film are they on now?
Shit, I don't know. It's fuck. 20.
They're balls deep into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, the most scarring thing that's happened is Tony Stark's house is blown up. Like, I mean, yeah, fucking nothing.
Here's a couple things that I envision. First of all, Captain America, I theorize that he's going to die and he's going to be replaced.
No, well, that's spoiler alerts. That's apparently what happens in the comics, as a result of the upcoming Civil War arc. So we're talking phase whatever is the next phase.
3.
Before that happens.
And it's also worth noting, as far as Guardians of the Galaxy are concerned, my understanding of the comic Guardians of the Galaxy is that it's sort of built around the fluidity of the group, as in there are characters who do die, who get killed off. And so perhaps in the next film you will see one of those characters die.
I like that they're bringing legitimate filmmakers into this fold. I feel like I hope they would trust James Gunn to kill someone.
Okay, murder.
So what's going to happen is the raccoon's going to be, talking to Groot, and then suddenly his whole side of his face is blown off, and then that is never really referenced again, is what you're saying.
The ending stinger of Avengers: Age of Ultron, it just says elsewhere in the universe, and it just shows a dude with a whole bottle of Roundup pouring it on Groot. And Groot just going, "Ah!"
Yeah.
That would be fucked up. Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, have you been looking at any of Joss Whedon's interviews? Like,
I don't pay attention to that.
It's kind of hilarious because you can really kind of tell he hates his job.
Well, he
doesn't. He's not excited about anything, and all he's talking about is how it's so fucking difficult, and he's happy not to be doing it anymore.
Right.
Well, that's
and he wishes he could keep up with his characters, but he's booking the fuck off with here as soon as he can.
I get the feeling that he feels
made a
like
huge mistake.
He's made his Marvel money, and he's going to buoy that good that good Hollywood support into a passion project next.
I just want to make black and white Shakespeare adaptations, guys. Come on.
Hey, I'd Much Ado About Nothing. I'd rather watch that again than watch, fucking Avengers.
I want to make a musical with Neil Patrick Harris and my friends when there's a writer's strike.
They need to make a sequel to that, and that's a whole other
story. They've been talking about doing that. Maybe that's what
apparently it's written. Apparently it's all written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's just waiting for the next writer's strike, so that he can get his friends for as little money as possible. But yeah, it's honestly
and I'm so negative, and I guess I shouldn't be, but something about it. I guess Edgar Wright's firing kind of sort of pulled the wool from in front of my eyes. I'm like, oh, this isn't really this giant benevolent happy tree friends group.
Well, I've known
you fit the mold or you're booted.
Ever since Terrence Howard got jazzed out.
Well, that's true too. That left a bad taste in my mouth. But Terrence Howard is a crazy.
He wanted more money, didn't he?
Yeah. Now, Terrence Howard is a crazy person. I will.
That was my element of doubt as far as that goes.
To me, Terrence Howard getting canned, and they didn't handle it the same way, but it's no different than Crispin Glover quitting over Back to the Future Part 2 because they didn't offer him the money he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, motherfucker, you weren't going to get that money.
I mean, at a certain point, how little money are they being offered? How much, I usually side with labor when it comes in labor versus corporation disputes.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Well, here's the thing. If you notice, there was a huge dispute amongst the others. Everyone who wasn't Tony Stark.
Yeah. because they wanted something resembling Tony Stark money.
Right,
and Robert Downey Jr. money. They got it, and they deserve to get it because the Avengers made fucking $2 billion.
Yeah, it made
they can afford to pay their
stars. Is what it made.
Yeah, they can afford to pay their stars, and so they did, and it's good.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Marvel money is Marvel money, and that's Joss Whedon made his Marvel money, and he's getting out. I think that Robert Downey Jr. sadly, he was having kind of a creative renaissance, and now he's kind of mired in, you are always Tony Stark. You are eternal.
Yeah, well, he's got the Hugh Jackman disease a little bit. He wants to get out, but they keep dragging him back in. He's the Wolverine with the Marvel.
Well, what's creative renaissance? What are you referring to? Due Date? The Soloist?
Well, actually, you have a good point. Robert Downey Jr. hasn't made a good movie since before Iron Man, which was Kiss Kiss Baby. You have a very good point.
I will defend Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows.
Why?
The Sherlock Holmes movies, no, I agree. Yeah. They're very entertaining. They're
entertaining, yeah, okay. I just don't like what they did with those characters. It was like the snarkiest possible interpretation of those characters. And
you're also forgetting Tropic Thunder. And
I never forgot Tropic Thunder. I never forgot Tropic Thunder.
Correct?
What's that?
Tropic Thunder, pre-Iron Man, or no?
No, post.
Yeah,
really?
A lot of the stuff, most of the stuff we've been talking about is post, because it was like 2007 Iron Man came out, so.
Yeah, well, so it was Tropic Thunder was 2007.
They both came out the same year, but Tropic Thunder was shot after Iron Man.
Right.
And released after Iron Man?
Alright, let's look up the release.
That's the important part. Shot
the furnace, so let me look it up.
Had to necessitate that busy Steve Coogan schedule.
Iron Man was released on May 2nd, 2008. Tropic Thunder was released on August 13th.
August 13th, 2008. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Are you guys excited about the Vision? The Vision's going to be in this movie, guys.
I have no fucking clue who that is.
Yeah, I don't. And that's the thing.
I know who the actor is, but people say, "Oh, the Vision's in this movie," and I'm like, "Okay, thanks."
I've read Marvel comics probably more than you two have, and I don't know jack fucking shit about the Vision.
You definitely have, because I've read approximately no Marvel comics in my life.
I don't know jack fucking shit about the Vision, but that's the thing though. That I'm not so opposed to that. Like they're doing the Netflix series of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and I don't know jack shit about those characters either.
I've never even heard any of those names, and
I'm susceptible. I'm at that point.
Marvel digging into their bit
because I haven't heard of it. I'm just saying I have no idea what that is. You might as well just say the Great Purple Bumblefuck is in the next movie. Ooh,
yeah!
Holy shit! I really want to see the movie starring the Great Purple Bumblefuck.
Dr. Boobs is coming.
Yeah.
Isn't that wow, what are you doing? Shut up.
Anyway.
Fucking, is there a Google Chrome extension that makes autoplay videos go to hell?
So far.
Is it the same extension that tells you not to type things out when you're on a podcast?
I have no reason.
I wasn't typing things, I was clicking things.
Yeah, multitasking motherfucker.
I have no reason.
No wonder the internet keeps dropping out on you.
No, that's nothing to do with that. That's this piece of shit computer deciding I think it's dying. Fuck you, computer. Anyways, so I went into my work laptop, so there's that. I should probably buy a actual.
So with that said, I definitely, you know what, I'm looking forward to Age of Ultron. I'm keeping my sights aimed low. I'll probably be watching it tomorrow after I get off work. I'll probably just head straight to the theater and get in on the commotion before someone spoils too much from it.
I have no reason to not be excited for this movie. I loved Winter Soldier. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. I love fucking Daredevil. Marvel's killing it right now, and I really, despite that there's this kind of skepticism picking at me, I have to be, I got to go in with and try not to let my expectations and it's difficult to explain. Like these franchises, they get so out of hand, and the fans are building stuff up, and you can't go into a movie with too high of expectations because at a certain point the movie can't reach them.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's just one of those things where, you know what? I honestly, Daredevil, if that is my favorite Marvel property to come out this year, that's fine with me. Daredevil's flawed, a deeply flawed series in some ways, but what it does well, it does fantastic.
Yes.
And honestly, it's deeper than anything Marvel's produced to date.
It's so awesome. Watch Daredevil, please.
Yes, fucking watch Daredevil, and Vincent D'Onofrio, his performance truly transcendent.
Why don't you listen to me when I speak to you?
Hey, there's a Daredevil villain that actually provides mortal danger.
Right, that's the thing. The Kingpin,
Justice is served.
Fisk in Daredevil is, in my opinion, the single best theatrically released comic book villain portrayal, because it's truly a threatening performance. It's unpredictable.
Better than Joker?
Better than the Joker, because
Really?
there's backstory and depth to it that film has not been able to capture accurately.
Have you watched Daredevil yet, Zach?
Nah, waiting for the wife.
Yeah, I gotta say, fucking, as much as I love the Joker, Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio,
Seriously?
he slaughters it.
It's ridiculously high praise.
It's a combination of, here's the thing, he manages to be subtle and over the top without it feeling like it feels like a natural change, because his character is a kind of mild-mannered individual who's prone to violent outbursts.
Mm-hmm. And
it really is, and the backstory they give him is something you can truly empathize with and understand. I can't speak enough about it. If the rest of Daredevil was just the Ben Affleck movie, this Kingpin would rule the day. It would still be worth watching. And that's coming from someone who recently watched Daredevil with Ben Affleck.
Can we talk about that, please?
Sure, let's make that.
How good of an Elektra would Vincent D'Onofrio make?
Ooh, what? What?
Better than the performance that you get in.
Yeah, but wait. I think he's talking about the 2005 spin-off film Elektra.
No, Elektra's in Daredevil.
I mean,
but he's not talking about the film Daredevil from 2000.
Well, no, I am. It starts in Daredevil, and then it goes into Elektra. Vincent D'Onofrio as Elektra would also get his own spin-off film in this.
If Vincent D'Onofrio played Elektra instead of Jennifer Garner, honestly, it would have been a way better movie.
He has a more womanly figure, so there is that.
Ouch, that's harsh. Jennifer Garner is definitely a pretty.
She's very pretty, and
she also
is she?
Half, particularly in that movie.
Yeah, that's.
Have you seen her back in that film? She looks like Michael Phelps.
Yeah. Daredevil is just a hot mess of fuck up. There's nothing in that movie that.
I disagree with you. I don't know why. And I get into this argument every time someone brings up this movie. I don't know why. It was probably the fact that I was 14 when it came out and I saw it for the first time. I fucking love this movie. Like, it's so stupid and it's so garbage, but I still like it.
The first 10 minutes of Daredevil that tell a little bit of his origin story and stuff worked for me. And it fails so utterly to live up to that in such an epic way. It's like every single scene after that is the actors trying to make the film worse than the next scene, than the previous scene.
They are.
With the only exception being Colin Farrell, who I think knew that he was in just bullshit.
Michael Clark Duncan's on the same level. Michael Clark Duncan is at the very same level of not giving a fuck.
Michael Clark Duncan tries, but I got legitimate laughs out of Colin Farrell because he didn't give a fuck.
The blind lawyers from Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, he was just like.
And then there's a scene in the movie where Michael Clark Duncan falls to his knees and goes, "Aah!"
That's a surprisingly deep and accurate approximation of Michael Clark Duncan yelling.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
I can't hate that movie. Like, I'll watch it, and like, I don't enjoy it for the reasons that it's meant to be enjoyed. I totally enjoyed it on an ironic level, but I still kind of love that fucking movie. Like, I don't know why. It's so stupid, and like, I could do stand up just with Daredevil playing in the background. I could do a whole.
With a better script and a better director, I could actually legitimately see Ben Affleck being a decent Daredevil.
Batman.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be Batman, and he nails, I think, some of the sensibilities of that. But it also, it can't help but be compared to like the not the Green Hornet, the Green Lantern movie, where it's just like, take an actor who he has on occasion done movies that are decent, but make it as unsuited to him. Make the script as
I disagree with. I would say that Green Lantern was too suited to Ryan Reynolds. That was the problem. Was that Green Lantern has a silly premise, but they don't play it silly. They play it very straight.
Mm-hmm.
And
you mean the part where he fights a giant shit monster at the end?
No. I just mean with all the little like frat boy type quips that they threw into that movie. Like those, that was somebody trying to write to Ryan Reynolds' strength. At least like, you know, circa 2004 Ryan Reynolds, where it's like, you know, he's not the same actor that he was 10 fucking years ago.
Oh shit! You remind me now of Kevin Smith's cameo in Daredevil.
What about it?
It was literally the feeling on my mind was. You are in this as moral support, so Ben Affleck is able to make it another day without shooting himself.
Probably. That's
what it felt like. Cause
I think Kevin Smith has even written for the Daredevil comics, I believe.
He's actually written quite a few.
Yeah, so...
And so that's probably how he got in, but...
Kevin Smith, I've never heard him speak about this movie. I'm sure he has somewhere, and, you know, like, if anybody wants to post in the comments where whatever Smodcast episode Kevin Smith has talked about this.
Yeah.
Like, I can only imagine that he must have been having the time of his life on the set, where it's just like they're fucking this up. Like there's no way.
It just dawned on me. I have one other positive criticism to say about the Daredevil movie. I'm not that big of a fan of Eldon Henson's performance as Foggy in the Daredevil TV series. Foggy is Daredevil's law partner.
You didn't think he got better as the series went along?
He gets better when the series moves along, but those first couple episodes are to be honest, his performance in those first two episodes almost lost me. Lost me. But he does. I think the writers had to figure out how to incorporate him. Jon Favreau plays the same character in the Daredevil movie, and while it's really poorly written, he does a decent job with the material, and I can legitimately see him play that character. Mm-hmm. Though he's certainly, too old to play that character now.
I never felt like Jon Favreau was playing a character. I just felt like it was Jon Favreau.
Well, here's the thing.
I mean, hey. I get it. Like that's sort of how Foggy is.
That is who he is. That like the way the character is written. That is Jon Favreau.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, have you seen Chef? That is like Foggy Nelson movie, except with food.
Chef, aka
Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, his Dear John letter to Marvel.
Basically. We should petition to have it retitled Hell's Kitchen.
Well, I enjoyed Chef. I actually rewatched it with my parents wanted to watch it when I was over there, and so I rewatched it with them. And I wasn't expecting it to hold up on a rewatch, but you know what? It's a genuinely entertaining parent movie. Watch it with your parents.
Very much a parent movie.
Absolutely.
I mean, Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. I mean, I watched it.
It's way the fuck better than
Parents
Best
like
Exotic
it.
Marigold Hotel.
What?
Way the fuck better than that. Best Exotic Marigold Hotel is old exploitation.
Listen.
Simple. Chef has some elements to it that I think go beyond that.
Did Jon Favreau direct Couples Retreat?
I don't.
I believe he did.
No. Ralphie from Christmas Story directed Couples Retreat.
That's right. Favreau was just in it.
Peter fucking Billingsley directed Couples Retreat.
As director of Favreau's films that he has done, his first film he directed was Made, Elf, Zathura, Iron Man 2, Cowboys and Aliens.
Cowboys and Aliens is really what I was going to reference, just because that to me was pretty underwhelming.
Well, and then Chef was his
I can still do
indie filmmaker again. I don't screw big budget things.
Give me $20 and a fucking RV. I'll make a movie.
Now he's making The Jungle Book is what he's doing.
Oh, he's going to make The Jungle Book first, then he's going to make Magic Kingdom.
Which, by the way, there are 2 Jungle Book movies being made right now.
I know. Andy Serkis is doing the other one.
Yeah, the Andy Serkis one sounds like it could be really fascinating.
Yeah.
The Jon Favreau one, I'll give him a shot just because...
Both of them have a great cast. I don't even know who's in which fucking movie because they cast at the same time and all went A-list.
Yeah,
it's up and down.
I hope they get released on the same fucking day. That'll be an experiment for the ages, won't it? Just like, who the fuck's going to the Jungle Book? Yeah, I'm going to the Jungle Book. I got my tickets right here.
You end up in the wrong theater. Like, oh, well, this Jungle Book's as good as that Jungle Book, I guess.
Who the fuck cares? Yeah, it's... Oh my
God.
One
of them's got Benedict Cumberbatch and one of them's got...
It sounds like there's, Andy Serkis's Jungle Book sounds like a passion project, the way he's described it, and Jon Favreau's actually sounds like he cares about the project, but I don't know if I'd go as far to say passion. So
sounds like Disney's beating him over the head with the wad of cash again, which is probably why that one's going to be successful and the Serkis one is not.
Well, I have a feeling what Favreau's going to do now is he's probably going to go into the mode of big budget movie to fund his indie flick. He probably made a deal with Disney. He said, if you give me $10 million to make my next movie, I will make your $100 million movie or something like that.
Chef 2 coming soon.
Yeah, Chef 2 Electric Boogaloo. The first movie dealt with food cars. The next movie deals with...
we happened to open up the food cart next to a roller disco.
Yeah, the next movie's lemonade stands. And as Zach knows, the Duck and the Lemonade Stand song is it's going to be stuck in your head for all. Have you heard that one, Bill?
I don't know no Lemonade Stand songs.
Go to YouTube.
Duck and Lemonade.
Just type in the Duck song.
The Duck song.
And you will hear a song that you will never get out of your head because it is that just ear.
Well, listen to that one. Listen to the next 2, and then listen to Honey Bear. Or whatever.
Because there's also the Duck Song 2 and the Duck Song 3.
And then there's the Bear Song or Honey Bear Song or something.
Advertised as a spin-off of the Duck Song.
Oh, that one made me angry. That one made me literally angry.
Ooh.
When that finally played, they were auto-playing because I was making lunch and I don't know what the fuck I was doing with my life. And then when it got to that one, I got pissed off. It's like, no.
I don't blame you. Yeah, it's some kid's songwriter who's just, is there to do that.
To not put forth an effort.
So with that said, I think we've talked out Age of Ultron as much as we can. I want to go ahead and close up this podcast by thanking you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Did we talk about Ex Machina? I mean, I assume you did.
Yeah, you did. You're late, man. You missed the boat. Give us a quick opinion.
Amazing film.
All right.
Easy top 10 fodder of the year.
Okay. Cool.
Amazing acting. Quality nudity. I don't know.
There you go.
All right then. Well, on that bombshell, night everybody.